川普完蛋了，媒体说他翻车了
Everybody panic! Oh my God!
屁嘞. If you ask me, this is just another assassination attempt, not on his life, this time on his character. If you know one thing, is that the media is really good at brainwashing people to hate川普. But after this appearance yesterday, although everyone is sure it's gonna hurt him, it might actually help him and lead him to victory.
We're gonna win so much, you may even get tired of winning.
Shit, you guys in the comments are right. Maybe I should start selling popcorn, cause you're gonna be eaten alive on today's episode. So today, I'm gonna break it all down and show exactly what happened, as well as doing a little bit of fact checking and showing exactly where Trump went right and where Trump went wrong. Now, I know some of you clicked on this video cause you hate Trump, and some of you clicked on this video cause you love Trump. And by the time you get to the end, hopefully, maybe, y'all couldn't, both pro and anti-Trumpers can finally agree on something, because what went down on that stage yesterday was absolutely wild.
Oh my God, he's gonna say it. Oh my God, he's gonna say it.
大鸡大条. The best lies are bathed in truth. This is something the media, both left and right, understand all too well. And what you're about to see is an absolute masterclass in spin. You're going to witness in real time how career journalists are legit Jedi masters at taking real, true events that actually happen, but by simply removing tiny yet crucial details, they can completely change an entire narrative. Which is why when Donald Trump took the stage for the conference of the National Association of Black Journalists to try to swing their vote, he had no idea what he was in for until it was too late.
Mr. President, we so appreciate you giving us an hour of your time. I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States.
Okay, so it starts off with the journalist in blue using a very common debate tactic known as a loaded question, which is where you ask a long-winded question with multiple points with the intent of causing your opponent to struggle to address each one. And if he even stutters while addressing any of these points, he risks looking like an evasive, dishonest fool.
You better be careful.
So the first point she made is regarding when Trump, who wasn't even running for office at the time, started to push the conspiracy theory that Barack Obama wasn't even a natural-born American citizen.
The reason I have a little doubt, just a little, it's because he grew up and nobody knew him.
I want him to show his birth certificate.
I'm saying it's a real possibility, much greater than I thought 2 or 3 weeks ago. Then he has pulled one of the great cons in the history of politics.
Now, this part is true. However, the rumor was actually started by Hillary Clinton supporters. And although there is no evidence to suggest that Hillary was directly involved in pushing these rumors, the fact that there are leaked emails of her campaign advisor actually suggesting to do this as an attack strategy when they were losing their campaign is sus as fuck. And Trump did this not only to Obama, but also to Republican Senator Ted Cruz.
Well, here's what I think. What I think I'd do, I'd go and seek a declaratory judgment if I was Ted. You go to federal court to ask for what's called a declaratory judgment.
But that could take a long time for
No,
a court to...
no,
Because I don't think the Supreme Court has never really ruled on what is a natural-born citizen.
And then he did it again to Republican Governor Nikki Haley when he promoted a fake news article suggesting that because Nikki Haley's parents were Indian, that she was not eligible to run for president. So the reporter has Trump dead to rights on this one. Let's see what she has to say next.
You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from.
Again, she's got Trump on this one, because in a tweet a few years back, Trump wrote this.
So interesting to see progressive Democrat congresswomen who originally came from countries whose governments are a complete and total catastrophe, the worst, most corrupt and inept anywhere in the world, if they even have a functioning government at all, now loudly and viciously telling the people of the United States, the greatest and most powerful nation on earth, how our government is to be run. Why don't they go back and help fix the totally broken and crime-infested places from which they came? Then come back and show us how.
Jesus, this does not look good, yo. Because out of the 4 women that he directed this tweet at, only one of them was an actual immigrant. And while the other 3 were born and raised in America. Some with 1 immigrant parent and some with no immigrant parents at all. Needless to say, things are not looking too good for Trump. But allow me to explain exactly what's going on here. Do you remember when I said the best truths are bathed in lies? Well, we're only 2 points in and her question is not even halfway finished. And it's this 3rd point where you're about to see some serious fuckery.
You have used words like animal and rabbit to describe black district attorneys.
So, Trump did say this, but as we all know, context matters. When commenting on District Attorney Alvin Bragg, who was prosecuting him on the Stormy Daniels hush money case, which he later got convicted for, he took to Truth Social saying,
Funded by George Soros. He is a Soros-backed animal who just doesn't care about right or wrong, no matter how many people are hurt.
So, Trump never mentioned anything about this guy's skin color. He basically said that George Soros, who is a known big donor to the Democratic Party, hired this guy as an attack dog to go after Trump. He could have said this about anyone, regardless of how they look like. This is a universal diss, yo. Then, when Fani Willis announced that she was going after him under the RICO Act, his camp put out this statement.
Like Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg, deranged Jack Smith, and New York AG Letitia James, 66 Fulton County, GA's radical Democrat District Attorney Fani Willis is a rabid partisan who is campaigning and fundraising on a platform of prosecuting President Trump through these bogus indictments.
Again, Trump never mentioned anybody's race. He called Fani a rabid partisan, which is basically an out-of-control Democrat. And who doesn't know at least one of those?
Well, yes, the whole night.
So yes, Trump called one person an animal and used the word rabid to describe another person. And both of these people happen to be black. But these two facts are not mutually exclusive, dog. You know what? That kind of reminds me of that scene in the movie The Gentleman.
Why aren't you training your black cunt?
You can't do that, that's racist.
But you are black and you are a cunt, and those are the facts.
The fact that I'm black has nothing to do with the fact I'm a
He didn't say black people were cunts, he was being specific to you. One has nothing to do with the other.
So what this reporter did is really sneaky, yo. And most people would have missed it, which is exactly what she's counting on. Because it all serves the purpose of setting up her last 2 points, which will definitely catch the audience attention.
You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort.
Now, here's where she really starts cooking. So she started her shit soup with 2 true facts to build comfort and trust with the audience. Then she cleverly adds a dash of 2 bullshit statements, which Trump did say but didn't explicitly say, and then finishes it all off with an eye-catching garnish of fecal bullshit. And this will make the audience go, ooh, ah. So let's break it all down.
You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist.
So she claims that Trump attacked several black reporters. Really? He attacked them like some sort of a rabid animal? Let's see what really happened.
You want him to rein in Robert Mueller?
What a stupid question that is. What a stupid question. But I watch you a lot. You ask a lot of stupid questions.
You ask the man who is being investigated by the FBI if he wants the leader of the investigation to stop investigating him?
You're not very bright, are you?
That is definitely a stupid fucking question. And then you say that Trump attacked this woman? She approached him.
You voter suppression. You just have to sit down, please. Sit down. I didn't call you. I didn't call you. I didn't call you. I'll give you voter suppression. Take a look at the CNN polls, how inaccurate they were. I'm not responding. I'm responding to, excuse me, I'm not responding to you. I'm talking to this gentleman. Will you please sit down? Excuse me, would you please sit down? Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now that the House of Representatives
very hostile.
has
It's such a hostile media. It's so sad. You ask me about, no, you rudely interrupted him. You rudely interrupted him.
So this reporter interrupted Trump while he was answering another reporter's question and then insisted that he answer her question. But Trump wasn't having that shit, and somehow that's racist?
That doesn't make any sense.
Oh, and here comes the kicker. The reporter that he was talking to before he was so rudely interrupted was Sagar Enjeti. That dude's Indian as fuck, bro. So again, how did he attack this woman, and how is it racist?
Hi, Mr. President. Yemi Shalsunder with PBS NewsHour. On the campaign trail, you called yourself a nationalist. Some people saw that as emboldening white nationalists. Now people are also saying that the president.
That's such a racist
There
question.
are some people that say that now the Republican Party is seen as supporting white nationalists because of your rhetoric. What do you make of that?
I don't believe it. I don't know. Why do I have my highest poll numbers ever with African Americans? Why do I have among the highest poll numbers with African Americans? I mean, why do I have my highest poll numbers? That's such a racist question. Honestly, I mean, I know you have it written down and you're going to tell me. Let me tell you, it's a racist question.
Fun fact, that is a racist fucking question. This reporter is playing some serious sneaky games, yo.
Oh, you use the word nationalist, and because you're a white man, that must mean you're a white nationalist, because we all know all white men are the same, and whenever a white man uses that word, that must mean he hates black people.
Punch yourself in the face right now so that I don't have to find you on campus and do it myself.
You know what? This reminds me of some of the stupid shit I see in the comments from time to time with people saying stuff like,
"Oh, it's so refreshing to see a black man speak so intelligently."
因为你是黑人，所以你一定会投给左派呀，因为你们黑人都一样啊。
我第一次看到黑人支持川普啊，很意外耶。
你just say it. Not all people are the same, fool. We don't all think the same. And that goes for Asian, brown, and white people, yo. So as you can clearly see, Trump didn't attack anyone. But by cleverly using that word attack towards the end of her question, she's able to trigger the audience into thinking that Trump is aggressive. And this will play right into the journalist's hands later on.
You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort.
So, after attacking black women and calling himself a white nationalist, Trump sits down to have a nice, fresh, hot meal with a white supremacist.
Are you serious?
Yeah, this part is actually true. And as you're about to see, it's actually really, really strange. So at the time, Trump was scheduled to have a dinner with his good friend, Kanye West. This is post-anti-Semite, Adidas deal in the toilet Kanye West. Then Kanye unexpectedly brings along 3 friends. And one of them friends happens to be a very outspoken white supremacist, Nick Fuentes, who Trump claims he didn't know at the time. But here's where things get weird. This nigga Nick Fuentes is Mexican, yo. I mean, the name Fuentes is not exactly what comes to mind whenever you think of someone who supports white superiority. Make it make sense. Now, to be fair, Trump could have turned Nick away. In fact, the Secret Service should have vetted this guy before they even let him walk into the room. We all know how efficient the Secret Service has been at protecting Trump lately. But more importantly, how come that reporter didn't mention the most obvious part? The fact that Trump sat down with Kanye West, the most famous anti-Semite of our generation. What, is it because he's black?
That's racist!
So now you see how tricky journalists can be. And the crazy thing is, they invited him to show up to this thing. But as you can see, Trump has been on that stage for less than 1 minute, and it is very clear he is in very hostile fucking territory. In fact, what you'll see in the next chapter is that this actually might be a setup. But wait until you hear how Trump responds.
Hold on to your butt.
So Trump is now in the lion's den, and he has 2 choices. He can either walk off stage and risk looking like a coward, or he can stay and fight.
So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that. And let me go a step further. I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense. And then you said, you can't do it with Zoom. Well, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late. Just so we understand, I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working or something was wrong.
Mr. President, I would love if you can answer the question on your rhetoric.
Woo! My man is matching that energy, yo. They might have thrown the first punch, but he's out here throwing haymakers and landing them. Dissing their equipment, dissing their tardiness, which, by the way, black women don't like too much. Google CPT to understand more. And most importantly, calling them out for it just might be a straight setup. Now, unfortunately, I was unable to find any evidence that suggests that they actually lured Trump there under false pretenses, but if there's even a shred of evidence that comes to light that shows that this is true, they are completely done.
I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for black workers and black entrepreneurs. I've done so much, and and I say this, historically black colleges and universities were out of money, they were stone cold broke, and I saved them, and I gave them long-term financing, and nobody else was doing it.
So what he's saying is actually 100% true. Within his first year of office, Trump signed in 3 key pieces of legislation that all greatly benefited the black community. Most notably was his prison reform bill, which reduced the sentences for nonviolent crimes, and also the fact that with the aid of Kim Kardashian, of all people, he granted clemency to black prisoners who were wrongly convicted of crimes. And he also allocated $255 million of federal funds to black colleges and universities. That's more than Obama allocated in his first and second terms, yo. So yes, Trump did do a lot of things that greatly benefited African Americans while he was president.
It's true.
So Trump is on a roll. And all he has to do now is sit back and watch these shitty journalists squirm for a retort.
I have been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
Better than President Johnson, who signed the Voting Rights Act?
Oh no, you were doing so well, bro. Abraham Lincoln? Really? Now, the reporter barely managed to get in a response, clapping back in a reference to LBJ. And it is true, Lyndon B. Johnson did a lot for African Americans at the time. He signed the Voting Rights Act, which eliminated racial discrimination during voting. And more importantly, he signed the Civil Rights Act, which outlawed racial discrimination entirely. But unfortunately, his war on poverty, although well-intentioned, caused even a greater racial divide in America. And it also resulted in the complete destruction of the black nuclear family. Shout out to Larry Elder and Thomas Sowell. But that misstep aside, comparing yourself to Abraham Lincoln or even LBJ for that matter, Mr. President, 你真的说得太夸张了吧?
You to start off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work in such a hostile manner, I think it's a disgrace.
Let me just ask a follow-up, sir, and then we'll move on to other questions here. Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a
literally
definition
the words
then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition.
Sir, I'm asking you a question,
No,
a
you
very
have to
direct
define
question.
it. Define it for me, if you
I
would.
just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So, I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly, very much, and she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always identified as a black woman. She went to a historically black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a black person.
Just to be
my nigga, you cannot do that. That's not okay.
Oh man. Okay, so this is why I really like Trump, as an entertainer, not as a politician. This fool needs to quit politics and go do stand-up, yo. He is legit funny. But as you can see, his brand of comedy does not work in the political arena. So let's unpack this. This reporter is trying to paint Republicans calling Kamala Harris a DEI hire somehow being racist. But bruh, Democrats have been saying this all along. In fact, Joe Biden said it himself.
I am not committed to naming any but the people I've named, and among them there are 4 black women, both as from vice president to Supreme Court to cabinet positions to every major position in the White House. It's going to look like America. It's critically important that be the case. I can guarantee you that. Number one, I committed that if I'm elected president and have an opportunity to appoint someone to the courts, I'll appoint the first black woman to the courts. It's required that they have representation now. It's long overdue. And I commit that I will, in fact, I'll pick a woman to be vice president. There are a number of women who are qualified to be president tomorrow. I would pick a woman to be my vice president.
Not only that, but Kamala Harris has been a huge champion of DEI. So what, when the left says it, it's okay, but when the right says it, it's somehow racist? The racial math ain't mathin', yo. And now let's get to what Trump said about Kamala's blackness. Bruh, it ain't no secret. Kamala has been riding that Indian Express train from the DA's office all the way to the White House.
I stand before you as the first candidate for Vice President of the United States of South Asian descent.
And as many of you may know, my mother arrived in the United States from India when she was 19 years old, by herself, never having been to America. That within one generation, I stand before you as Vice President of the United States.
Certainly, you could become the first Indian senator in U.S. history, which would be quite an accomplishment.
Not good.
Okay, so what we're gonna cook today is an Indian recipe.
Yes.
Because you are Indian.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and I don't know that everybody knows that.
You look like the entire one half of my family.
Okay, thank you.
You do. I know from personal experience and from my family of the commitment of the Indian people to democracy and to freedom.
Kamala Harris is somebody who was raised very much almost identical to me. She was raised basically by an Indian professor, South Indian specifically. And for the vast majority of her early life, identified as Indian. Her mother even said that she culturally identifies as Hindu. It is clear, though, that after she attended Howard University, that being quote unquote black and black only became the identity that she began to ascribe, except when politically convenient. She ran as quote Kamala Devi Harris. Devi is her middle name. It's an Indian word as well. As South Asian in her first race in 2003, but by 2020 was listing her in her bio only as a black woman.
So what Trump said is true, but the way he said it is bad. Like, bruh, you're out here trying to get votes. And I know you might not like the idea of being politically correct, but guess what? You're a goddamn politician, yo. That's your job. You gotta be political. But apparently that was the thing furthest from his mind, because as what you're about to see, he was about to go all in on 政治不正确 and not give a damn.
Coming from the border are millions and millions of people that happen to be taking black jobs. You had the best.
What exactly is a black job, sir?
A black job is anybody that has a job. That's what it is. Anybody that has a job.
All right.
And
Mr.
they're taking the employment away from black people.
God damn. Now, I know a few of you might be confused, so let's break it all down. If you come from a country that has primarily a homogenous population, it's probably a little difficult to understand how what he said is fucked up. Because if someone comes to you and says, hey, immigrants are stealing Taiwanese jobs, you probably won't think anything of it, at least from the racial aspect, because 99.9% of the people in Taiwan are Taiwanese. But it's a little bit different in America, and everyone knows we have a very messed up history. And although it may seem like a long time ago, 160 years is like 2 people ago. That's your grandpa's grandpa, yo. Needless to say, America is still very slowly recovering and trying to deal with this dark past. Not just with slavery, but with how America treated the Chinese, the Japanese, the Mexicans, and Native Americans. Pretty much anyone who had a little too much Hesa Su caught that American colonialist smoke, yo. Needless to say, people are still very sensitive about that stuff. And when an old white dude who was born in the money, well before civil rights was even a forethought, walks into a room full of black people and says that Kamala turned black and that their black jobs are being stolen, this is not a good look. Now, does that make Trump a racist? I don't think so. Keep in mind, that nigga is 78 years old. Like, for real, how many of you have an 80-year-old grandpa who 除夕的时候会来吃团圆饭，然后讲一些
那个外老头饭好好吃哎，妹妹，你的还那男朋友你各位啊，他今天怎么都没来哎。
Yeah, that's Trump, bro. He's America's 80-year-old grandpa, and he don't got time for PC culture. In fact, he don't have much time, period. Now, this is not an excuse. Where normal people can choose whether or not they want to play the 政治正确 game, if you are a public figure, you have to be very careful of every word you say. Now, I do got to give Trump props, because there are very few, and I mean very few politicians who would willingly walk into the lion's den and not run out of there, let alone try and fight them off. You think Kamala is capable of doing something like this?
Okay. Do you have any plans to visit the border?
I'm here in Guatemala today. At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe.
Now, Trump has been a professional politician for 8 years now. And he should know by now that every single word he says will be placed under the microscope and scrutinized. And actually, part of his appeal, the reason why so many people like him, is that he speaks real shit. He don't talk like a regular politician. But let me let you in on a little tiny, teeny secret. 我们美国人很爱面子. We like a president who speaks well and sounds smart and intelligent and diplomatic and ain't gonna stand in front of 100 other countries and say, hey, y'all niggas need to pay us for protection. That just don't look good, yo. And because the president is our mascot, whenever he talks, we want him to make us look good. But the way Trump speaks, although entertaining, oftentimes makes the United States look very divided. But in spite of all that, this incident could actually help him in 2 major ways. Firstly, if a big independent media dares to fact check like I did, then even more people would realize just how bad they messed up, resulting in and flipping for Trump.
The first person I knew who supported Donald Trump was my father. I was shocked.
My entire family is racially diverse, and I believe the left-wing propaganda that Donald Trump was a racist. My father said, "No, he's not, Amber. What are you talking about?" And when I insisted, he said, "Prove it." So to prove my father wrong, I did my research and looked into all things Donald Trump. I realized Donald Trump and his supporters don't care if you're black, white, gay, or straight. It's all love.
And secondly, if he manages to bring receipts proving that Kamehameha was supposed to show up and didn't for fear of confrontation, then that just might be the end, because that would show that she set him up for this character assassination, and the victory would certainly be his. But that's just me. What do you guys think? And remember to keep them comments civil, yo. You can be passionate and you can have heated discussions, but you need to be respectful to each other. Otherwise, you know what it is. I will fucking ban your ass.
You better be careful.
But before you get banned, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the flip side. Peace.